This week, what I'm going to teach you is a drill that you should do every single time you practice, just as a warm-up, all right? It's going to teach you all the basic things you need to know to hit good or great golf shots on the golf course. So come on, let's go do this. So what I'm going to show you today is how it's a little practice drill that I do every single time when I'm practicing or playing just beforehand, just to give me the feeling of what I'm trying to feel in the golf swing. All right, and this is what every golfer should do before they go out and play, whether you're a high player or an expert player or at tournament player levels as well. It's just going to teach us how the right arm works. You're just going to do some basic swings just with the right arm. So I'm going to talk you through that first. And then we're going to talk to you about how the left hip works just through impact. All right. And the left leg does most of the work for me here, and I'm pushing off the ground. But this is going to help me to add in acceleration and also control my low point as well. So it's very important, and it's a drill that doesn't take long, doesn't need to be hit miles. Okay, you don't need to put a lot of effort into it, but it's really going to help you to be able to master some really key skills to make you play some really great golf. First of all though, please remember to subscribe if you're liking this video and if you're finding my content helpful, and also hit that like button. So first of all, you need to learn what we used to call, right, so I was very lucky when I was teaching down in Kent at a place called Kings Hill. We had a golf professional there called, he was just working teaching there every so often. He was called George Will. George Will was a great golfer. He was in the 3 Ryder Cups in the 60s, played against Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus and so on. I'm very good friends with him as well. But he used to say to me these words: you have to disconnect in order to reconnect, all right? And I didn't really understand what that really meant at the time, but I obviously do now. I'm a bit older and wiser myself. But he used to talk about how the arms have to disconnect from the body, because what we see too many golfers get is too connected. Okay, and they get too much tension in the shoulders and too much tension in the chest, and then they become too rigid with the golf swing. What you have to learn to do is to learn to let the arms swing, okay, and they have to disconnect in order to reconnect, because then if you allow the arms to swing and use the body correctly, everything connects up, all right? And that's really what we're talking about here, all right? So the first thing you have to learn to do is to allow this arm just to swing. And we don't see many golfers do this. They don't allow this arm just to swing back and forth. Now, I'm doing this without really trying to turn or use my body at all. Right. And that's a feeling I really want you to try to have, is learning to allow this to swing separate from my body. And that's an area that we see a lot of golfers struggle with. They tend to feel like they've got to move the shoulders at the same time and control the swing with the shoulders. Not all the time. You just want to feel the arms swinging separate. And this is a speed producer, because if I can allow that to happen, I can swing my arms past my body, and that's what creates speed. My body then acts as a brake to create more speed, to hit the ball further. So one of the things that we would tend to do, or ask golfers to do, is to just stand with the feet fairly close together, play the ball back off the right side of their stance, and then all I'm going to do here is just make a few little swings, but just swing the right arm back and forth and the club, and just hit the ball or hit the ground, allowing the club to swing and pivot. I'm also allowing my right hand to work correctly as well, which is in a back and forth motion, like a throw-in motion. I'm not rolling the wrist as I do this. I'm just allowing the right hand to work back and forth and play. All right? I'm allowing the weight of the club to create inertia. So as my hand goes back and starts to change direction, this wants to stay where it wants to stay, and I'm then going to put the movement on it. So swinging back, that creates lag then. Everybody's trying to crave and get lag. Well, it creates naturally through inertia. What I'm not doing here though is I'm not using excessive movement of my body. I'm just going to get used to just swinging the right arm. And I do this all the time with a wedge. I've only got a 50-degree wedge here. Putting it back in my stance, bit of weight on my left leg, and all I'm going to do is just swing my right arm back and through. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just chipping the ball down there and getting used to my right arm swinging independently of my body. I'm not using any body motion at all here. I can put my left hand on my hip if I want to, or in my pocket, and all I'm going to do here is just chip back and chip through. The advantage of this is it teaches me correct right hand action as well. And if I wanted to, I could play different shots doing this while practicing it. I can play, depending on where my right is at impact, so probably correct impact is there's a slight cup in the back of the right hand. That's correct loft, but I can actually add more cup. That's going to hit the ball lower, or I can actually increase that angle and that's going to hit the ball higher. And I can play different heights just through this little chipping action, which I'll show you. It's not very easy to show in a net, but I can stand here, same position. So let's say if I keep the angle for longer, the ball will go lower. So back and through, you can see how it comes out quite low. And all I've done there was just keep the angle in the wrist a bit more. If I want to hit a normal one, just swing it back, just swing the arm back and through, hit more the middle of the net. And if I want to try and hit it a bit higher, I'll just release that hand a bit more in that action. So this action, so release it a bit more and the ball should go higher. So I haven't changed my ball position at all, just back and through. See how I hit the top of the net? So I've hit 3 points in the net there, just through swinging the right arm back and forth and just changing the angle of my wrist at impact. So it's a real skill that you need to learn. It sounds simple, but it's a skill that you do need to learn that people don't tend to do. So they tend to get too rigid with their arms, especially when they're chipping. And this isn't a chipping exercise, this is actually a full swing exercise. But what we tend to see golfers do is they tend to get very tight, rigid, and they can't actually make, you know, a good feel on the swing, and they don't hit the distance that they should get either. So what I'm trying to do is to just allow that right arm just to swing freely. I'm not going too big a swing either, and that's the key thing here, because what happens after that, the golf swing is just an extension of that then. It does get longer. Okay, so I'm just going to swing back and just swing through, just allowing this right arm just to swing back and forth. Probably used a bit too much body there because I'm used to using the next part. But just for this sort of one, I'm just literally using my right arm just to chip back and forth. No body action at all, really, there at all. You'll be amazed at how straight you hit the ball. And people will say, oh yeah, but you're only hitting a chip shot. But it's going to bleed into the full swing. And that's the key thing for this. So the action I've got here, I can still stand here and try and make very minimal body action. And I can hit that pretty straight most of the time. I can have good control of it as well. So it's a real key fundamental to learn to start with, which is just to get the fin of the right hand. It teaches you how the right hand works and teaches you how the right arm needs to swing independent of the body. Again, I can try that again, just swing back, hardly any body action at all, and the ball will go fairly straight. That's because my right hand's working correctly through the shot as well. I'm not rolling the wrist through. I'm not pulling underneath or rolling the hands through. I'm just swinging back and forth, all right? So that's tip number one, all right? That's what we want you to work on first. So once you can get the right arm swinging independently of the body, then we need to get the body involved a bit more, all right? And this is the area that I used to love working on as well. And it's going to involve you working the left hip correctly. And it's a very simple thing to work on. All we're going to get you to try and feel as the arm's swinging down to hit the ball. So as your arm's swinging freely, as I'm starting it downwards, as the club head starts coming down to the ball, my left leg is going to just push my left hip back and out the way. And I'm going to time the two up together, so push through. So I'll just do that here. I don't want to whack my golf clubs. So I'm just going to swing back, push through. So my left leg is pushing my left hip back. This is going to help me just to control the low point. And also, it's going to add in acceleration because the left hip is now, it's pushing the momentum away from me and my arm will straighten out. And it will also help me to, like I say, control my low point. It will shallow the club out a bit more. And I'm just pushing that back. So this is number one. I can feel the pressure being put into my left heel. So sort of from this position here, as I swing back, my left leg is pushing my left hip back. So I'm timing that up together. It's a really key and really important thing to feel. I'm being smart here. I'm using rubber balls, by the way, because I'm going to swing at the camera. So as I'm swinging back, I'm only again swinging a couple of feet back and through. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to get a feeling of the left hip pushing back just as I swing through. This is just going to help me hit all sorts of good shots. So just swing back and through. Okay, I'm pushing that back as I come into impact. this just offsets momentum, and this is going to just allow the club head just to take off, and the ball's just going to fly off with natural easy speed, if I'm honest. So just stepping up here, so as I swing down to hit, my left leg is pushing, I'm pushing into the heel of my left foot, and then my left leg is pushing my left hip out the way. So it's pushing it backwards. I'm not thinking rotation here. I don't like the word rotate or turn. I like to think of it going backwards. And just got to time it up, and this is where the practice part comes in. So I'm just feeling here, go back and through. I'm just rotating it back and forth. And that's really key. Once I've done that a few times, I can then try and put that into hitting the golf ball. And again, don't go big. When I start by warming up, I tend to just do a few little swings, but I'm trying to time and marry up those two actions. So the right arm swinging freely and the hand working correctly. And I'm just going to try and time up my left leg, pushing my hip back just as the club is coming down. So back and through. That's the feeling I want you to get. And I do this every time because it's just a good rehearsal to have. Now I've got a wedge here, like I say, but you can do it with other clubs. So I'm just going to swing back, just make a small swing, back and through. I'm just trying to time those two things up together. And I can promise you, it will make a world of difference to your golf swing. You're going to be opening up to the target more, you're going to compress the ball more, and also that pushing the hips backwards creates this slingshot effect, or the centripetal forces to push the club away. And it creates natural speed, to be honest with you, or easy speed. So I'm just going to swing back and through. And that's how I just try to create this movement. You don't have to go nuts. You can then start to blend it up into a slightly fuller swing. So I can stand here nice and relaxed, back and through, and just start to time the two things up. I've not got any conscious thought really of where the club should be in position. I'm just really working on feeling that swing. So I'm swinging back and through, and just feeling that left hip push back. One of the biggest things we see, or faults in golf we see, is early extension. If you can do the left hip going back, that will stop early extension. You'll feel like you're pushing it away from the, it feels like it's going the opposite way from the ball. Sometimes it feels like it's going the opposite way from the target, to be fair, and that's what creates the arms to extend out. So that's really, really key. So just practice that, just swing back, swing through, and you'll create easy power. I promise you, less stressful on the back, don't hurt your back, and you'll make a nice rounded sort of golf swing. Okay, it looks like I'm turning the hips, but I'm actually doing it by pushing the left hip back. So I work in straight lines, so it's what we call straight line forces. My right hip goes back and then my left hip goes back. So combine those two things, free arm of the right hand. Okay, get used to doing that, no body action involved, and then start pushing the left hip back, pushing the left hip back. And that way you're going to start making some great contact, you know, great control on the ball. Then you can start blending it in to full swings. I was just doing this yesterday, to be honest. It felt great. It's just great to do, and it just reminds me what I need to be working on, and it reminds all my clients really, and they like it because it feels so easy. So all I'm going to work from here is just get that feeling of pushing the left hip back as I swing through, and get a free swing on my arms. So just back and through. Okay, love it. Crush that one. So anyway, give that a try. Give me some feedback below, but hopefully that will help you out. So this is one of my number one drills that I do with a lot of clients, and they get pretty much instant success when they do this. So go and practice this. You should try and make this part of your routine. Start off with a wedge, build it up if you have to, but just get that feeling of the right arm swinging independently and get that separation or disconnect in order to reconnect, and then start blending in the left hip pushing backwards. I did use the word turn actually, funny enough, in this video, but I didn't mean to. All right, it's a habit. But it feels like the left hip is being pushed back by the left leg, all right? And remember to think of them in straight lines. It's an easier task to remember than anything else, all right? So give that a go. Remember, please like and subscribe my videos, and share them around as well. If you think they're useful to you, maybe they're useful to somebody else, all right? So hopefully I'll catch you at the next one.